Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me here today on the program. Week 7 recap. Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Really doesn't get much better than that from a rivalry perspective. These two teams are not the same as we're used to. This is normally a 5-1 Steelers team taking on a 4-2 Ravens team, or vice versa. It's not the same, but it's still Ravens, Steelers. You still have to respect it for what it is. Let's break it down and talk about how the Pittsburgh Steelers were able to reign victorious in this football game. The home team has struggled in this series, and the Steelers had struggled at home against the Ravens, but they were able to get it done. Let's talk about how they were able to get it done. So, 3-3 Ravens taking on the 1-4 Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers get on the board first with a Miller shovel pass for a touchdown to start the scoring in this football game. And it was an odd play because you don't normally see a tight end catching that shovel pass. It's normally a scat back or someone of that nature. They snuck Heath Miller in there. And this team has gotten better over time. And a big reason why is because of Heath Miller. He's a safety blanket. We know he's always been a safety valve for Ben Roethlisberger. And since he's entered the lineup coming back from that ACL tear, he's been a big help to this Steelers offense. They get on the board first. And it was a very low score. It's what you expect from Steelers Ravens. Not a lot of points, a lot of defense, a lot of hard hits, a lot of back and forth. These two teams know each other extremely well. Ravens put together a drive of their own, but can't pick up 3rd and 1. Steve McClendon and Ziggy Hood were huge on this play. McClendon came down the line. Ziggy Hood stood his man up. They converged on the tackle, and they forced the Ravens to kick a 46-yard field goal with their field goal kicker, Tucker, to cut the lead to 7-3. Impressive drive by the Steelers bogs down after a huge catch by Derek Moy, but a sack of Roethlisberger leads to a squeeze-em field goal. It's 10-3, so Steelers go back down the field and get their field goal back. And we'll talk a little bit more about Derek Moy a little bit later on, but he's a big target at 6'5", rookie out of Penn State. He's someone that the Steelers are going to look to get the football to in the red zone, and we'll talk about him a little bit later. Ensuing possession, good stunt and sack by Woodley to force Ravens out of field goal range. Look, in a game like this, Joe Flacco has to know better. Get rid of the football. You cannot afford to take a sack when you're in the red zone. Points come at a premium in a rivalry like this. Okay, you're not going to score a lot of touchdowns. It's not going to be 37-34. This is going to be a 16-13, 16-19, 20-17 type of ball game. You got to get a field goal when you get in the field goal range. Can't take a sack on 3rd and 7 trying to hold on to the football to make a play. Get rid of it. Get your field goal kicker on the field. Great play by Lamar Woodley to get to Flacco and get the sack and get the Ravens out of field goal range and force a punt. Heath Miller fumbles, forced by Darryl Smith. Huge play because the Steelers were looking to get points right before the half. And Heath Miller is usually shorthanded. He's usually a guy you can rely on to hold on to the football. Not in this instance. He puts it on the ground. And Darryl Smith has been a revelation for this Ravens football team. Coming over from Jacksonville, I thought the Jaguars should have did more to try to secure his services. He was a lifetime Jaguar, a guy that you want to build around as a franchise. He's a team player, and the Ravens wrestled him away. And I tell you what, he's been everything and more for this Ravens defense. If not for Darryl Smith, you could argue that this team isn't 3-3 going into this Steelers game. So he's been a huge part of why this Ravens team has been able to stay afloat in this season while they've been struggling on the offensive side of football. So that fumble gives the Ravens prime field position right before the half. Ravens are able to get a field goal off of that fumble and get to the half, only trailing by 4 at 10-6. Second drive of the first half, riddled with penalties, holding on 3rd and 12 on Ike Taylor. Flacco has a scramble that picks up some yardage. Then Polamalu is offsides, but Flacco misses on home run to a wide open Jones, which leads to a punt. Again, This is for any team. Forget about rivalry. Forget about Steelers, Ravens. This is any team in the league. You get a guy wide open, you got to hit him as a quarterback in the National Football League. That's what separates the good from the great from the terrible in this league. The ability to take advantage of plays when they're there to be had. And Jacoby Jones was open, and he had a step, and it's a touchdown. If Flacco hits him, he overshoots him by about 2 yards. And that's the difference sometimes in winning and losing a ball game. Your ability to hit a big play when it's there. And usually Joe Flacco is money on that. You give Flacco the opportunity to hit the deep ball. Normally he takes it and he runs with it. He missed Jacoby Jones. And in a game like this, I already stated this. In a game like this, where you know points aren't going to be easy to come by, you got to get that one. You got to have it. And he didn't hit Jacoby Jones on that play, led to a punt. Tough possession for Dumerville. 2 personal foul penalties, and he was offsides on one of those personal foul plays. So anytime 2 personal penalties on one possession, that's 30 yards. Okay? We're talking about not only flipping field position with 30 yards, you're probably going to put a team in field goal range. 30 yards is a huge chunk of the field. That's a third of the football field, folks. So if you're getting 2 of them by yourself on one possession, you're doing some serious damage to your football team. And Elvis Dumerville had a tough possession, which if you give up 30 yards of field position by yourself, chances are you're going to end up giving up a field goal at minimum on that possession. Steelers only able to muster a field goal after the penalties, 13-6. Steelers up by a touchdown. Now, let me just tack on this little caveat. Le'Veon Bell is running hard and effectively, and the Steelers are implementing a little bit of wildcat as well, and it is really proving to help this Steelers run game out. They showed a graphic, Running Nowhere, and I thought that was one of the best graphics I've seen all year. And I love the title, Running Nowhere. Doesn't get much better than that. And they showed the 5 runners in the league that average 2 yards per carry or less, or 3 yards per carry or less. And on the top of that list were running backs Bernard Pierce and Ray Rice. Now, if they wanted to go as a whole, the Steelers would have been number 1 on that list because they can't run the football. And coming into the game, they were the only team in the league, the Pittsburgh Steelers were, that didn't have a 100-yard rusher, not in a game, on a season on their team. They didn't have one back that had over 100 yards on their team. So that's telling you the ineptitude that exists in this game between the 2 teams rushing the football. But the Steelers were able to run with Le'Veon Bell, and he ran effective in this game. And they were able to mix in some wildcat, and I think that kind of helped loosen up the Ravens defense as well. Huge catch by Torrey Smith. Then a bigger conversion on 4th and 1 leads to a field goal as Steelers D stiffens up in the red zone, 13-9. Torrey Smith, for those of you who haven't been paying attention, has been monster this year. I asked the question, can he be a number 1 receiver? He's responded with a resounding yes. This guy can get it done. The issue hasn't been Torrey Smith on the offensive end. It's been the lack of other weapons. Marlon Brown has been solid, but he's out of place. They need a legit another threat, and that guy was supposed to be your tight end that's injured right now. He was supposed to be that other threat that loosened up the defense, that ate up the middle of the field, that could loosen up the defense for a guy like Marlon Brown. Jacoby Jones is starting to get healthy again. He'll be able to help out with a little bit of that load, but the problem for the Ravens right now is that they don't get in the end zone enough. They settle for too many field goals. They did it in this game again. Onside kick. Steelers recover. Great field position for the Steelers. Ravens tried to catch the Steelers napping. In a game like this, any little turn, any way you can gain an extra possession, you got to go for it. We know that John Harbaugh is a huge special teams guy, was a special teams coach before he landed the Ravens head coaching job. So he's huge on special teams. Not out of the realm of possibility for him to try something like this. They didn't get it. And in not getting it, also, I just needed to throw this in there. Their kicker, Tucker, smashed on this play. And so for those of you wanting to run onside kicks with a little pooch kick where your kicker tries to recover, just be mindful that your kicker can get it on a play like that. Man, Mr. Tucker he got absolutely obliterated on that play. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, take a look. He got smashed, and they were checking his hearing after that play, if you can believe that. He got a nice shot for his troubles on that play. After a few runs by Ben Roethlisberger and Felix Jones, Big Ben has Moy open in the end zone, and he can't pull it in, resulting in a squeeze-em field goal. Steelers take the lead back to 7 at 16-9. I told you I was going to come back to Derek Moy. Look, Roethlisberger throws a beautiful throw, and this is about a 45-yard chuck into the back of the end zone. Moy has about a step and a half on the defender, hits him right in the hands. He dives for the football, can't pull it in. Gotta have it. You want more playing time, young fella? You want to show Mike Tomlin and the staff that you deserve more time in the game. Todd Haley and everyone, you want to instill confidence in them? Make a play. This was the chance for the Steelers to put this game out of reach, and you weren't able to corral the football. Catch the football, young fella. The more you make plays, the more you're going to be on the field. There's talent there, and there's a niche on this offense for you. You got to catch the football. So Steelers take this 7-point lead again, and then we got to crunch time. And when it's crunch time, it's Flacco time. Joe Flacco time. And Joe Flacco put together a $120 million, 16-play, 73-yard, 8-minute drive capped by Flacco to Clark on a 1-yard hookup. It's 16-0. And that's what they paid him that money for. Right there. For him, when it's late game situations, it's Joe Flacco time. And he showed what he's made of. Joe Flacco can struggle for 3.5 quarters. You give him the football with 1:15 seconds left and a timeout. Watch him work. And they gave him the football with about 10 minutes to go, and he put together an 8-minute drive. So, I mean, that's Joe Flacco for you in a nutshell. Struggles all game, and right when you think they can't win this football game, they're out of it. Flacco puts together a 16-play, 73-yard drive that ties this football game up at 16. So now Ben has to respond, or this thing is going to overtime. And you do not want to go to overtime. After you've worked hard all game long to secure a victory, you don't want to go to overtime. So Emmanuel Sanders is robbed of a touchdown on a kickoff return. I thought it was a touchdown. I didn't think he stepped out of bounds. I thought they made the wrong call. I thought he was able to tread softly down that sideline and walk that sideline like a tightrope and get in the end zone. I thought he was robbed. They give the Steelers the football at the 34-yard line. Roethlisberger to Brown on a couple of huge conversions twice, sandwiched in between an illegal contact, sets up a 42-yard Sean Sweezum game-winning field goal. Game, set, match. Everyone drive home safely. Steelers get it done at home versus their hated rivals, the Baltimore Ravens. 19-16. Thrilling football game. It's what you've come to expect from Steelers Ravens. We did not get disappointed in this game. Steelers are now 2-4. Ravens dropped to 3-4. Steelers are not dead yet. Don't count them out. I told you. Until the Steelers are mathematically eliminated from playoff contention, I refuse to count these guys out. They are the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, big win for the Steelers. Tough road loss for the Ravens. This is their first time losing 2 consecutive games this year. Let's see if they can bounce back after this loss. That's going to do it for me here on this program. I thank you for joining me. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. See you next time when I continue to break down week number 7 in the National Football